Hi, everybody. You are an OG if you remember this from June 2022. My very first crooked grind. But ever since then, I haven't really gotten one for a long time. About a year and a half later, on my own little garage box, now I finally have them. And I'm still really in love with this one from our last video. So what changed? Today I want to take you through how I've been able to finally get the crooked grind to a point where I can do it a little bit more reliably, especially on the right box and the right ledge. So before we talk about the grind itself, let's talk about the ledge, the obstacle you're going to try to do your crooked grind on. My garage box at home is about 6.5 inches high with this angle iron on it. And I've worked on this angle iron a lot, and I've given it a slight bevel, but it has a good corner still, and that's actually really important, I'm starting to realize. So if you have your own box, what I've done is I've taken a grinder with a flap disc to polish up the angle iron and give it that slight bevel on the corner so that the corner's not too sharp and hard and digging into my trucks, which can make a lot of friction and make it difficult. I also use a scouring pad to give it a final buff and get everything as smooth as possible so that my grinds go across this nice and easy. And when it comes to crooked grinds, in my opinion, you're going to need wax, lots of wax. This is a grind where the wheel is going sideways up on the iron, and so you're gonna need to wax it. People that can do crooked grinds on concrete or on something unwaxed are something else, something I don't understand. But I'm 46 years old and enjoying these in my garage, so I'm gonna wax it. So there's this ledge at the Winter Park skate park. I've done a ton of grinds on this, but the bevel on it is really rounded. I've only come to realize recently as I tried to do crooked grinds out here the other day, and they're really hard to lock in with that really rounded corner. I keep slipping out, and if I can get the grind, I can't maintain it. So it's really important, I think, to find a ledge where you're gonna have the right shape and the right bevel on the corner so that you can maintain your crooked grind. You want some corner, but you don't want it really, really sharp too. This second ledge at Winter Park is kind of a middle ground. It has some bevel, it's got some roundedness, but I have started to be able to get some crooks on that one. Okay, let's dig into the actual grind itself. So this is the foot position I like. And remember that I'm regular, so I'm traveling to the right side of your screen. The back foot is just in an ollie position as usual. The front foot is sort of diagonally across the nose, and I like to wedge my heel kind of into the pocket. It's kind of a comfy little spot for it. And from here, a little practice step is to put all of your weight onto the front foot and keep a lot of it on the heel and see if you can stand there on flat ground and then go back. I will actually roll around in this position because when I do my crooks, especially on something the height of a curb, you don't have to ollie into it. You can just lift the front truck into it, and so you can already prep your feet before you do an ollie or anything and stay in this position so that you're all perfectly ready and your feet are exactly where they need to be. Now let's practice the crook position on our curb or our ledge. Go ahead and put your board up there, put your heel side wheel on the angle iron, on the metal, and then try to stand there on it with the other wheel hanging off. You can do that one-footed and just stand right on it, and you can also do it where you put your back foot on and try to keep your balance and make sure that you're comfortable in this position. Once you do get into this position, you'll get used to it. It'll feel much more stable as you kind of practice and play around with it. Shift your weight sort of forward and back and side to side and see what it feels like and how you can hold it. One of the things I'm starting to realize recently is that the wheel that is doing the pinch on the angle iron is actually pinching on the side of the wheel, not the bottom rolling surface of the wheel. As I start to shift my weight around, see the corner of the wheel is what's actually in contact with the angle iron, not the bottom. And once you feel good with that position, start rolling in slow and just trying to put that truck up there on the angle iron, eventually adding a little bit of speed so that you get some slide. Like with so many grind tricks, you're gonna have to play with the angle that you come into the obstacle. Some people like a pretty good angle on this one, and some people come in nearly parallel. I think my preference is to come in with a slight angle, not fully parallel, but not a really steep angle as well, because with a steep angle, too much of your weight can end up on top of the ledge and you can kind of bounce out, or you can end up in a nose grind like that one instead of an actual crook. Because remember that your heel side wheel is the one that's locking in, not the toe side wheel. Toe side wheel needs to be hanging down off the ledge. So that leads us to the question of, how do I get my heel side wheel up there in the correct position? And I think there's two pieces to this. One, when you lift your truck up and it's approaching the ledge, you need to press down a little bit with your toes to angle the truck. Here's a pretty good example of that. We're coming in, I'm going to lift the truck up over the ledge, and then I'm going to push down a little bit with my toes so that the toe side wheel is down and the heel side wheel is up. Another way to visualize it is that you lift the truck up toward the ledge and then pull it toward the ledge with like the bottom of your foot, the sole of your shoe. Pull it in. And now the second part of this is, as soon as the truck comes in contact with the ledge, you shift the weight onto your heel of that front foot. And I think that's the biggest key to what unlocked this trick for me, is when I started putting weight on my heel to get the grind in, because we have to pinch over that heel side wheel, so the weight needs to be on the heel. And it's surprising, it feels like a movement that's going to kick you out of the grind, where it's going to slip right off. But with a little bit of practice and dialing in, once you start committing weight to that heel, you're going to feel it and it's going to start locking in, and you can hold this surprisingly well. This is different from a nose grind in that a nose grind is a lot like a manual, where you have to keep that one truck balanced on the ledge. This one has enough points of contact where once you get settled into it, it's very comfy and you can just lock this in and you can grind it a long ways. So it's not a really balance focused grind like a nose grind or a 5-0. It'll lock in and you can sit on it pretty long. And another small tip about putting the weight on the heel is that you might want to hang the heel off the board to make sure that that's where the weight is. It's on the heel side of that nose pocket area. If you have your toes hanging off, they're likely to snag on the ledge, or you have too much weight on the toes and it's not going to lock in. So go ahead and hang that heel off a little bit as you stick that foot on the ledge and get it locked in. And lastly, we do need to talk about, how do you get out of this grind? Well, my default method is to pivot on the front truck and do a 180 like you've seen many times in this video so far. My second favorite method is a shove, like a nollie front shove. Just pull the nose just a little bit. It's surprisingly not that hard to get a shove out of a crook with a few tries. And last but not least, but what I think is the most difficult, is crook and then come out to regular. And my plan is to spend more time with this exit because it is the hardest and I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm starting to get it. I want to dive in a lot more, get a lot more detail on how am I making this actually work so that I can explain it and have everyone else doing it along with me. So I'm going to spend more time with this. I'm probably going to have a part 2 to this video on how I can get out of this grind regular. What I can tell you so far is getting out of the grind to regular is all about that heel weight, keeping the weight on the heel really strong as you exit the end of the box or ledge so that it doesn't roll off and the board flip over on you, which happens all the time if any of the weight shifts to your toe side. So maintain the weight on the heel when you want to pop out regular. And with that, I hope this helps. I hope you get into crooked grinds, because even getting into them and doing the pivot out, I think is so worth it. I think you should give it a try because it is such a satisfying grind. It feels so good. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, like I said, with that part 2. Thanks.